Hi team, in this video I'm going to be talking about the 4 mindset shifts that I needed to make to stay consistent and to commit to my healing journey, which was about me restoring my nervous system and recovering from some trauma that I had experienced. And these mindset shifts took place around about 6 months into my journey after I'd been trying a lot of different things and wasn't sure what was sticking and why I wasn't feeling any better and why was it so hard for me. And this was before I started training in this field. If you're new to my channel, my name is Donna Louise and I'm a trauma-trained somatic practitioner, functional breathwork coach, clinical EFT practitioner, and I'm also a trainee counsellor. And I help people to get out of survival mode, to restore their nervous system and to reconnect with themselves again. The first mindset shift that I needed to make was that I deserved to put in the time, the effort, the resources, the energy, the money into healing myself. And after 6 months of not really feeling like anything was moving the needle that much at that time, I remember having those feelings of what's the point of it all anyway? Maybe I'm always going to feel this way. What's it matter? This is a lot of effort. And just generally feeling, like I just didn't know if I could, if I was worth it, essentially, if I was worth it. And part of that was because of the trauma that I had experienced, as that leaving me feeling like I just wasn't good enough. How had I managed to get myself into the position that I was in with all of that emotional, physical and mental pain? And did I even deserve to feel better? And I had to pep talk myself into, no, I need to do this for myself. This isn't the life I want to lead. I don't want to spend the rest of my life feeling this way. And I absolutely am worth the effort. I am worth the taking care of myself. I am worth the time and the money to do what needs to be done. I can really remember thinking back in the past about where I was spending my money, and I think the majority of my money was, spent on clothes and things like this back then, which is fine. I still spend money on clothes now. I'm not saying don't spend any money on clothes, but I found it difficult to spend money on my mental and emotional and physical health. I had some blocks to that. And I had to realize that I deserved to invest in these intangible looking things. Like there wasn't anything physical that appeared like, oh, here's the money and here's the the instant gratification. That didn't happen. And so I felt resistance to investing in myself in this way. And so I realized that no, I deserve to invest in myself. And that was that. And even if I didn't see it right away, I knew it would come with time. I believed that it would come in with time, and that I believed that I deserved to do that type of investment for myself. The second mindset shift that I needed to make was that I didn't need to wait for it to be perfect timing. There was actually plenty that could be done in the here and now immediately. I didn't need to wait until next week, next month, later in the year, when I had more money to do a course or to go on a retreat or to enroll in a type of therapy, or just having this clear space in my diary to work on myself. I didn't need that. I could get started straight away, and getting started with the free things straight away is actually part of what I still do today, 3 years in, and what I still recommend all of my clients to focus their energies on as well, which is the foundations of good nervous system baseline regulation. And that involves us breathing correctly. So I do gentle, coherent breathing. When I first started on this healing journey, my breath was shallow, it was high. I wasn't like breathing through my nose as much. I was alternating through my nose and my mouth, and this causes the nervous system to automatically be in a sympathetic state. So we're already in that survival mode. We're already in this activated fight flight mode, and that was causing me more anxiety. So doing diaphragmatic training, and then I now practice gentle, coherent diaphragmatic breath work once, twice, often 3 times a day still now, has helped me build a much better relationship with my body and my nervous system. Other free things is learning how to listen to your body's interoceptive cues, this basic. So understanding when your body is signaling to you, not just understanding, hearing and acting on it, not ignoring when your body is asking you to go to the bathroom, to eat something because you're hungry. I was making this video a moment ago, and I had to pause because I was thirsty and I was also a little bit cool, and I noticed after a couple of minutes that I was ignoring those cues from my body to take a drink and put on a sweater. And I'm like, I can't do this because I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. And when we ignore those cues from our body, we're causing further dysregulation because our body's asking for a base physiological need, and I'm saying, no, you can wait. So this causes further dysregulation in the nervous system and further disconnection from ourselves. So we want to really honor as soon as possible that when we get those cues from our body about wanting to eat, rest, stretch, cough, pass gas, drink water, change the temperature, etc., those innate cues that are coming from our body that it wants us to do something, like crack my elbow. Not saying that you need to do that, but I need to stretch a little bit. Then I listen to it and I act upon it as soon as possible. I know that it's not always possible to do that, especially if you're in a meeting or you're driving somewhere or you've got children to prioritize and take care of. But as soon as the opportunity presents itself, then you act upon it. That's free, along with doing diaphragmatic breathing, and it's something that is done throughout the day. I don't need to go on a retreat to do that. I need to be practicing it every day. The third part of that, with the basics and not having to wait, was to also just do gentle movement with my body. Building that better relationship with my body, where I was stretching, where I was doing mobility work. I was so sore and so stiff and so inflamed at the start of my healing journey. I would get out of bed and put my feet on the floor, and they were so painful. And I needed to build that better relationship with my body and listen to my body and feel what my body was feeling, instead of taking too many painkillers or drinking alcohol and trying to forget it or suppress it or all of these things. Of course, if you are in a lot of physical pain and you need to see a medical professional and take painkillers, I'm not talking about that. That wasn't my situation. My body just needed me to be present with it and to hold space for it and for me to move it. I'd not been doing movement regular movement for such a long time. I'd not been doing exercise for such a long time. And also as part of that, bringing in daily movement into my free activities that I don't need to wait to do was looking at what I was putting into my body as well. So reassessing, was I fueling myself with nutrient dense foods, or were I eating things that were actually depleting me and causing more nervous system dysregulation? I went through a period of eating a lot of sweets, eating a lot of cakes at the start of my healing journey. It was a comfort thing, and all of that sugar was, raising my blood sugar level and causing me personally to experience more anxiety. I was drinking a lot of coffee. I was also still drinking alcohol at the beginning of my healing journey, and the caffeine would increase my cortisol. The alcohol would leave me feeling depleted and strung out. And I had to cut a lot of things out. I've spoke about this before in the past, because I had IBS as a result of my traumatic experience. And so my digestive system was screaming out for me to give it some love and attention and care. And this also I didn't have to really, I did go and see a dietitian, I think, at one point, but ultimately my advice was, you need to eat more fruits and vegetables and fiber and cut out these other things that are causing inflammation. If you are experiencing digestive issues, of course, you need to go and see a professional as well. But that's the advice that I received. That didn't require me, again, to go on a retreat or to make this allocated, uninterrupted time and space for me to be able to do that. That was the second mindset shift I needed to make, is that I didn't need to wait for the perfect time. There was plenty of things that I could be doing in the here and now, in the environment that I was in, with the resources that I had, with the capacity that I already had in my nervous system. And I didn't need to just keep waiting and waiting for this perfect time to do the work. The third mindset shift that I needed to make was that healing from my trauma and repairing my nervous system was going to include using my body as well as my mind, that my mental and emotional health wasn't all in my mind, but that it was also connected profoundly to how I was feeling in my body, that my body was, for me, creating the mental and emotional discomfort that I was also feeling. And I did go and do some therapy. I was in clinical EFT therapy for well over a year, and that included me talking and working with my body at the same time. So I needed a combination of the things. It wasn't that I could just go and speak to a counsellor and that all of my trauma and nervous system regulation would be resolved through talking alone. I needed to incorporate working with my body, and that was a big mindset shift that I had to make at the start of my journey, because 3 years ago there wasn't that much about somatic work. I mean, I think it was becoming a lot more popular 3 years ago, and there were definitely people out there talking about it, which is how I came to discover it. But the vast majority of the information out there on the internet, it was all about talk therapies, and how if you were experiencing anxiety and emotional discomfort, then you had to go and that was the only solution, to go and talk to somebody about it. Now, I do in many of my videos talk about how talk therapy is one of the foundational principles that I think that we should do to restore baseline nervous system regulation. And that is because for many people, vocalizing what we have experienced, how we are feeling, to somebody that is just there to hold space for us and listen to us without any judgment and without wanting to give us advice, and building that relationship with that therapist, that co-regulation with the therapist, is really, really nourishing and nurturing and healing for the nervous system. However, it's not always accessible for people because there's additional costs that come with that. However, what I'm trying to say here is the mindset shift that I needed to make was that to heal from my trauma and nervous system dysregulation, I also needed to work with the body as well as with the mind. The fourth and final mindset shift that I needed to make, and it feels like I can remember it now because it feels like it was the biggest one for me, but it's not any more important, but I can really remember feeling it. And that was like, when am I going to stop wondering how long it's going to take to feel better and to recover from what hurt me? And what I needed to do was I just surrendered to it. I'd already built that safety in my system, and I stopped asking myself the question of how long it was going to take. And I understood that once I'd started on my healing journey, I wasn't only healing the thing I'd started it because of. I was healing years and decades of emotional pain and distress and repression and suppression from just life, being a human. That was it. And we're not in control of what comes up and out of our system when we start doing this work. And so I realized that I didn't know how long it would take for my nervous system to feel better, where I was feeling in a much more regulated state at the time. And the shift I had to make was that I was learning so much about myself in the process. I was connecting with myself on such a deep level, and I was learning to love myself and to be there for myself and to trust myself and to have my own back and to build and restore this relationship with myself again. And I needed to stop being like, when will I feel better? Because feeling the emotional pain from the healing journey, I realized it wasn't necessarily bad for me at that time, and that I was actually just allowing myself to feel all the things that needed to be felt. And it was really, I recognized that it was a really beautiful experience, that now I felt safe enough to feel it. And I was honored to be holding space for myself to do that. And I felt so privileged that I was in the position to do that for myself. And so I stopped asking myself the question, how long will it take for me to feel better, and just commit to showing up and doing the work and doing the practices and getting the support and taking really good care of myself. And for me personally, it took about 2 years. And it can take people less time, it can take people more time. Who knows how long it will take? And I'm definitely not at the end of my healing journey, but I now live in a really good window of tolerance. I've got a really good baseline regulation now, and I feel pretty good, more than I don't. And I'm now fully resourced and have the self-awareness that when I do become dysregulated, I can support myself, and I know what I can begin to do to help me come back to baseline regulation again. They are my top 4 mindset shifts for helping to heal my nervous system. It's quite personal. I didn't really expect it to be as personal as it got, especially towards the end. But that's the God's honest truth, as they say. And this video was really reflective. Everybody's journey is different, but I know that these things really helped me and have really helped my clients too. And if you've got any questions, any concerns, any thoughts that you want to share about this video, about what mindset shifts you've made recently, or if you're going to adopt any of these, please do let me know in the comments below this video. If you think that this video could help someone else, please consider sharing it with them and also subscribing to the channel. And if you are someone that's on their healing journey that is looking to get support, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling unsure, if you'd really like that support and guidance from a practitioner that's got an integrative approach like me, please click the link in the description below and book a free consultation call. I'd love to hear from you. Until the next time, take very good care.